Hello, my fellow coffee drinkers. Today I'm going to show you how you can create this coffee themed design in Procreate step by step with my instructions in today's tutorial. Now, as always, you can participate with all of the requirements completely free. I'll leave a link to them in the description down below. They are available over on my Patreon, but they again are completely free. So you can grab the canvas size, the palette, and anything else that you'll need for today's design. As always, make sure to tag me in your finished creations wherever you decide to share them. But you can also come and join me over on Patreon, where I've now got a catalogue of over 110, I think 116 at the time of recording, exclusive tutorials that you can get your hands on, and you can get access to every single one of them when you come and join me over on Patreon. So be sure to check that out using the link in the description down below. Enjoy today's tutorial, and let's get started. So the first part of today's design will be creating a sketch. So we're going to go to our actions, we're going to go to our drawing guide, we're going to edit the drawing guide, and we're going to go to symmetry, and we're going to make sure that the option is set to vertical. That way you'll get a line running down the middle, and what you do on one side will be reflected on the other. Now it's really important that you go to your layer and you triple check it says assisted on it. If you tap on that layer and then go ahead and tap on drawing assist if it's not already on. So with that done, we'll just set our color to black. So you just go to your disk, double tap at the bottom of it to select black, then go to your brush. You can change it to whatever sketching brush you like. I always like the 6B pencil, and I've got the size set to 1% just because we don't need it very big at all. Now the first thing we want to go ahead and do is draw in an ellipse. Now I am going to go ahead and create a new layer for this. I'm going to go ahead and draw in an ellipse like so. Hold your pen down with one finger, and then you'll be able to make sure it's a nice perfect one, and it will snap so it's horizontal. Now you don't need it this big, but what we'll do is we'll grab our cursor. We'll go ahead and use freeform. We'll move it into the middle. So make sure snapping is turned on here in the bottom left. And then we can make it narrower like so. We can bring that into the center, and we can flatten and adjust the top area. Now don't forget, you're going to need to write some words in here and leave a little bit of space in here too. So you want to lean a little bit more towards the sort of open top area there like so. We'll drag it up to around about here. Let's just check that. I'm going to make it a tiny bit wider, and then tap on our cursor when we're done. It's nothing too serious necessarily. Then we'll go to our layer and go to the one underneath it, so the one that we added the drawing assist to, because now what we can go ahead and do is we can go ahead and draw in the curve of the cup. Hold your pen down to create an arc, and then just let go and make it as wide as you like. I've maybe gone a little bit too wide. Now if you did, just tap up here, go to editing and arc, and then you can just bring in the nodes to where you think it will look best. So you could go ahead and make it a little bit kind of narrower. You don't want it sort of bowing out like mine originally did. And you can straighten up those lines if you need to and design your little coffee cup. And then once you've found an area that you like, you can tap away. You can then go ahead and just link up the bottom, and you can probably do that with a bit more of a curve than I've done initially. And then you end up with this shape here. Now, I'm then going to go ahead and draw in all the letters. So I'm just going to create another new layer. I'm just going to start chucking in all of the letters. Now, after a little bit of adjustment and sort of poking around at this, I have added in the letters. You'll see it a little bit. Now, if you want to, you can actually go ahead and download this exact version here. You'll be able to download it and just jump straight to this point. The only thing I've tried to do is make sure that the edge letters here start to curve with the cup shape. You can see I've also added a small area as a guide for a bit of a handle. Now, at this point, we're going to go ahead and start adding in some color. So you've got your guide ready to go. We're going to create a new layer. We're going to go ahead and drag it underneath. We're going to go then to our actions. We're going to go to the option of a edit drawing guide. We'll go back to a 2D grid. Let's just set the grid size to 500 for a minute and hit done, and tap on done when you're done. Then go to your layers. First of all, let's go to our background color. Let's change it to this color here, bottom of the second column. Hit done. On the new empty layer here, so it should be underneath your guide, tap on it and add the drawing assist. And then we're going to go to our colors, and we're going to grab the color in the top left of the palette. Your brush wants to be set to the option of textures, and we're going to use the Signet brush, and roughly around about 8%. You could probably go a smidge bigger. We're going to go ahead and add in our background. In fact, let's do exactly that. Let's go to around about 14 or 15. Now what we want to do is we're going to use the drawing guide. You can only draw in a vertical fashion. We're just going to draw in a quick box here for your design to go in. You want to try at this point to tidy up your corners as you go, bearing in mind again that we are drawing assisted, so you can only draw vertically or horizontally. So let's just make sure we make our way up here, adding in some color, adding in some nice texture in the background, and then block this in. So just go down a few times, maybe even make your brush size a bit bigger if you want to just fill that in nice and quick and easy, like so. And then set the brush again to a smaller size if you want to be a bit more intricate towards the edges. We are going to lose a little bit of this later on. And you can also go ahead and tap on your eraser, tap on it, and also change it to textures and the signet brush, and set that to around about, say, the same sort of size, about 12%. You could always go ahead and tidy up the edges as well by just running down here. You may need to do it a few times because this leaves quite a lot of residue left over. So you just want to tidy that up a little bit like this. Sharpen up any edges where you feel is necessary, just giving yourself a nice little sort of frame to work in. Now at this point, we're going to draw in our lettering. So we're going to go ahead and create a new layer, and we're going to drag it in front of our little stencil that we made. We're going to go to our colors, and we're going to double tap in the top left to select white. We're going to go to our brush. We're going to go to inking, and we're going to use this one here, the Inker brush, with a brush size set to around about 9%. Look at how beautiful these brush strokes are. Look at the texture we get in there, the sort of erosion in there. Really fun and quite a sort of cute kind of brush to use for this as well. So we're looking to start at the top, of course, and make your way down, or you can start wherever you feel more comfortable. So I'm going to start up here in the eye. And of course, the only thing we want to kind of bear in mind is as we're going, we want to make sure that at least our lettering is matching up and giving us the impression, of course, that we are creating the general shape of the cup. And that's going to be really important. And we can always adjust stuff later on. And look at how easy it is. I'm not nowhere near anyone who's any good at all with lettering. In fact, you know, my actual handwriting is absolutely awful. But you can have some fun with this and keep it really kind of cute and, you know, quite artistic in that sense. And you can make the brush size smaller if it's a little bit too big for you. And of course, you can always set your eraser to the same brush. You can hold down on your eraser if you didn't know, and it'll switch it to the same brush. And then if you need to, you can make the brush size a bit smaller and get in there and tidy up some letters. I quite like the kind of grungy look to it. So I'm going to try my best to not get carried away with too many kind of fixes in here as we go. Now this stage will take a little bit of time. Make sure you zoom out. You can always go ahead, like I said, afterwards and adjust things. So just try at the beginning. Let's get all of the foundations in before we start to make adjustments. You see, for example, with the T there on the right, I'm starting to lean it over to the right a little bit more, trying to curve it round. I'll definitely have to come over this side and fix that in a minute, but we'll do that shortly. So I'm going to go down the K in the middle. That gives me my central point, and then I can just go through it again, tidy up any lettering. Now, let me know in the comments down below, are you also somebody who is very dependent on coffee as I am? And we actually discussed this on the Sketch Wave. It's our weekly show. And I say our because it's me and James Julia who have a weekly show, the Sketch Wave. It's available on YouTube where we have a chat every week. So if you want to come and hang out with us and just get to sort of maybe know us a little bit more behind the camera, as well as just general art topics and advice that we can give every week, be sure to check that out. The Sketch Wave, available on YouTube. Now, again, as I mentioned, we're going to try our best to kind of curve these letters to just match up to the curve of the general shape of the cup that we created. So you'll see there I've gone a little bit higher with the W and also arcing it round as well. Here with the I, let's go ahead and do that. But as I was saying, let me know in the comments down below if you're someone who is also very dependent on coffee. I can barely start a day without it, and I am all for it. I wouldn't change it. I love my coffee. Now here in the UK, of course, we have most people are either coffee or tea. And Mrs. Create, my wife, is very much a tea person, but I'm trying to convince her a little bit more to switch over to the coffee side of things. Now with the G, for example, I'm going over the top here and I'm going to try and thicken out the head of it up there to try and, again, these lines here dictate the edge of the actual cup. So it's really important that we kind of create a little bit of a solid shape there, like so. Now let's carry on, let's crack on. So again, the W, we're following the curve. So I want to make sure that that curve is nice and strong. I can even send that W a little bit higher than what I've done in my guide and just get it just to make sure it does really fill out this side of the cup, give us a nice strong general shape, which lets people know that it is a cup straight off the bat. Let's go ahead and do the H as well. And go like this. I have also created another kind of text style, very loose kind of design as well on YouTube. I'll throw it up on the screen now, which I'll also leave a link to in the description down below if that's another type of design that you want to kind of follow on from this one with. I feel like the two of them work very well together. They have a very similar style and just general aesthetic to them. Lovely. Let's move across to the T. And as I mentioned, I'm not someone at all who's got great handwriting, but this one, you don't need great handwriting for. You can just have fun. The brush does a lot of the sort of general styling for you. You can allow it and its grunginess to take over. Now, for example, here with the so far, if you get to a point where you really want to change something, just grab your selection tool and use the freehand option and make sure color fill is turned off. And you can make a selection around a few letters and tap on the dot. Grab your cursor and just grab uniform, move it across a little bit. For example, I've done that because the E that I'm about to create was looking like it would have to be very, very large over on this side just to fill out the space. Whereas now I've moved that across just a little bit, I can now just allow the E to be a little bit more in line with the rest of the lettering. But again, I want to make sure that that gets right up to the edge. So I'm going to go back in with the selection tool, make another loop around the word the, go all the way around, tap on the cursor and just move it across again, get it right up to that edge first. Could even scale it up in size if I want to. I'll make it a tiny bit smaller than what I've just done. Tap on my cursor and again I want to make sure that we go right up to the edge, creating that general shape of the cup. There we go. That's nice. I can adjust the T now that I've got a little bit more space to play with. Lovely. And now we've got the word coffee. Now, of course, we want to make sure that this is nice and strong, nice and large, a lot like my coffees in the morning. And let's do that one again. Let's go around the top here. I wanted to make sure that the gap that I left at the very, very top looks quite nice and is pretty in uniform with the rest of it. So I can go around there. Again, making sure it's nice and strong, nice and bold. Now we're just gonna have to make the O a little bit smaller and that's fine. And then just for the center, you can do one of two things. You could go ahead and, for example, go like this and create a cut across and then another cut across. And that somewhat gives you a coffee bean. If that's what you want to do, I think that looks pretty cool. Or of course you can leave a little circle there in the center. Let's go round the F. So you can always bake additional smaller details into the design as well. And that'll look great, especially if someone picks up on it, you know, that it is a coffee bean, it's a coffee sort of inspired design. It'll look really cool. And then let's go around the top of the F. Just filling it in. Sometimes the letterings look really funny, or the letters look really funny, until you start to fill them in again with the actual brush. There we go. And you can see in each letter as well, I'm just leaving enough residue so that we end up with the brush texture in there as well. Now this E is leaning quite heavily over to the right hand side, and that's fine. It's gonna be quite top heavy because again, general shape of the cup. Lovely. And then the final one, we've got does at the bottom. So we're going to come down right into the bottom area of the design. Now, of course, we've got a little bit of a tighter gap there. So we just need to bear that in mind. So I can go across there. I will go along and then just down. I might be able to just leave it like that. Again, another opportunity here to do another O and then just do the line across and then another line across and then just kind of feather out the corners a little bit, taper them out so they look like little coffee beans. Now, of course, there's other videos as well you can watch on YouTube where you can see how to make fonts with your handwriting. And they're really cool because you could use this type of brush. If you really, really love this aesthetic and the letters that you've created, you could turn it into a font if that's something you wanted to do. I'm pretty sure just a quick and easy how to make a font from your handwriting will pop up with loads of results. Now I'm just going to make the D over here a little bit larger just because it's starting to fall a little bit shy of falling in line with the rest of the letters at the bottom. And I'm also going to go ahead and just try and bulk that out at the bottom a little bit more. It doesn't need to be anything super sort of defined. Now, when you're happy with it, you can then go ahead and add in the handle that's going to sit over here. So you can just create a loop and then you can widen that up again, go back over the top and a little bit of a wider area here on the top of the handle. And you can always round that off, get fairly close to the cup if you like, a little something like this. And another detail we can add is we can go ahead and just in the center here, just create like a little spiral here for the foam potentially, just kind of fit that in there as well. Now, when you're happy, you can then go to your layer. You can swipe it to the left, you can duplicate it. The bottom one out the two, you can tap on it. You can invert it to black. You can then also go ahead and tap on its blend mode and change it to the option of soft light. And if you go ahead and grab your cursor and use either uniform, you could either, for example, drag down from the bottom and create a big shadow underneath it like so. And then tap on your cursor when you're done. And now you've got a big shadow underneath, which just helps the text stand off a little bit. Now we're also going to go ahead and adjust the background. So we're going to go back down to this layer here that we created. Now, one thing I want you to just triple check you do is just swipe it to the left and duplicate it and then pinch the two of them together. That way we know we've got a solid background. It's got a few patches in there, but nothing too messy. We're then going to go ahead and tap on this and add a mask to it. We're going to make sure we're on the mask, so up here. Now you do want to tap on it and on the actual layer, tap on it and turn off the drawing assist. Then again, tap back on your mask and make sure your color is set to black. We're going to use the exact same brush and we're going to do that coffee bean effect, but we're going to do sort of diagonal, bottom left to top right. So you can go ahead and kind of just create a bit of a curve. You can make your brush size a lot bigger than that, probably around about 40. Start off with a curve up here and then just, all you're doing is just hiding part of the design. And then you can go ahead and create another curve, kind of wraps around. That's not my final necessary sort of shape. So I can probably adjust that a little bit more and also kind of round off the top and bottom a little bit more. Give me that nice rounder shape to it. I really, really like the texture up here at the top, so I'm going to leave it like so. The only thing I probably do is grab my cursor. I'll grab freeform now, and then I'll just make it a little bit wider and on both ends up here, and maybe even rotate it slightly just so it fills the coffee cup. And if it doesn't for you, as it doesn't for me, you can tap on your cursor. You can then tap on your layers here for your coffee cup and swipe from left to right on both of them. Grab your cursor and use uniform and just scale that down in size and just position it in the center like so. And that way it'll hopefully all fit within the coffee bean. Let's make this look a bit more like a coffee bean though. So going back to your layer and this area here, so making sure you're on the mask, you want to make sure your brush is set to black. Just again, I've got the brush size set to 42% still. I'm going to create a curve in the center and then switch your color back to white, top left by double tapping, and then just feather out these edges a bit more. So just sort of round them out, giving yourself a nice, really thin end to that center point. Then what we can do is we can add some more color to this. So we can go ahead and tap on the layer underneath. So we can tap here. We'll simply go ahead and tap on it and alpha lock it so we can't paint outside of what's already there. We'll go to our colors. We've got multiple colors that we can add in here. So we're going to grab this color here, the middle of the first column. Your brush wants to go back to the option of textures and the signet brush. And if we set the size to around about, say, sort of 10 to 12%, we can go ahead and just brighten up the top left edge up here, adding in a bit more color, make it even a bit bigger if you want. Add in a bit of color here. Light source, let's imagine, is top left. So then when we've got the groove in the center, we can add some nice bright tone here too and kind of round them off at the bottom, connecting the two of them together. You can then switch your color to the bottom of the first column, add in an even brighter light source up here, right up here on the top left edge, and then a little bit in here as well, in behind your text. Don't go too mad with that though. And again, round that off maybe at the top a bit more. Round that down, and then we'll go to our colors. We also have this color here, the top of the second column, and then this one we can go ahead and just add in a little bit of color but on the bottom edge. So we've got a big coffee bean in the background. Now let's add some patterns to this. So let's go to our layers. Let's create another new layer. We'll tap on it and make sure it's using the drawing assist straight away. We're going to go to our color. We're going to double tap in the top left to select white. And then we're going to go to our actions. We're going to go ahead and edit the drawing guide. So tap in on edit drawing guide. We're going to change the drawing guide then to symmetry, options, and we'll change it to the option of radial. Hit the option of done. So now what happens here is whatever you draw in one of these areas repeats in the other. Now if we actually go to the layer, let's tap on it and we'll clip and mask it to the actual coffee bean in the background. We'll go ahead and we're going to leave the blend mode for a moment. We're going to go to our color, double tap in the top left to select white. We're going to go to our brush and change it back to Inker. So under inking, Inker, and the brush size is 9%. Now what we're going to do is we're going to draw in a pattern here. So we're going to start off in the bottom left. You can see I've rotated down into the bottom corner. I'm going to start off right down here in the bottom corner, and I'm going to create like an oval shape again, and then try and create a coffee bean sort of style. Just really simple with its design. And then from there, you can add in loads of stuff. You could add in water droplets like this. So like the actual coffee itself. You can add in additional coffee beans as well. So you could go ahead and you can be really brave and try and draw one right along the actual symmetry line there. It's going to be a bit tricky to do, but you might be able to do something like this. And then do another little droplet of coffee coming off of the side. And you can make them as rough or as detailed as you like. And then just keep filling out the rest of the scene. You could introduce like a heart in here as well if you wanted to, just to show the love of coffee, for example. You can then add in a twirl or a curl or something like this. And of course, you're going to start to see the repetition come in everywhere else, and it's repeating in the top right as well. So your pattern's going to be distributed all the way along your coffee bean. So that's really important to know, that you don't want to go too close, of course, to your actual text, etc. So you may want to stay a little bit further zoomed out. And we can add in all sorts of little sort of additional sort of details in here. Again, further coffee beans maybe. Let's add in another one here and another little cut across. Trying our best just to create that rounded coffee bean shape. We'll create another one in here as well. Cut across. Lovely. And then we're getting really close, especially at the top. Now, don't worry if you do get too close, because we're going to show you how to fix that in a minute. I'm going to add in some more little droplets in here. I think they look great, especially if we can do one right on the symmetry line as well. Maybe like a little sort of splash outwards, and then maybe a little one in the middle. Another little splash outwards, and zoom in out. Lovely. We've got a little gap here that I think we could introduce something else into. So let's maybe introduce another coffee bean. So just a couple of lines can just make that shape come to life. And then in the middle here, you could introduce a little heart again if you want to. A little something like that. You could even fill it in. Grab your eraser. Set that to a bit smaller and just tidy up any lines that you feel is necessary. So once you've got your pattern like this, you can then go ahead and go to your layer. You can tap on it and change its blend mode to the option of overlay, which is now going to give you some really lovely warm tones in the background. And while we're here, let's turn off our guide because we don't need that. So our stencil, let's also actually turn off our guide as well because we don't need that one. It's adding a lot of clutter to the actual canvas. Then if we go ahead and on this layer here that we added our pattern to, we can simply tap on it, add a mask to it. And then using your mask, just go ahead and tap on it and turn off the drawing assist. We don't necessarily need it on. Making sure you're on the mask, your color is set to black, so double tap at the bottom of the disc. Go to your brush, go to airbrushing and the soft brush. And let's set the size to around about say 20%. Down here, you can just start to fade out your pattern as it gets too close to your coffee cup. So right in the center, you can just fade that out. Add in a nice gradient, a nice blend out, and you can add in some really soft details. You could even go ahead and, for example, blend out the very edge down here if you want to just allow the shadows to take over and just allow the pattern to somewhat sit on the top edge. And if that line in the background there is a little bit too distracting, well, you can go ahead and fix that. You can go ahead and tap on your layers and create a new layer and drag it all the way to the very bottom. You can go to your colors. You could grab this color here, bottom of the first column. And with your brush, what brush have we still got? Soft airbrush, that's still fine. In the middle, just fill in that line. So it's there, but it's subtle. So it's totally up to you. You could leave a little bit by switching to the bottom of the second column there. You could add in a little bit, maybe up towards the top if you wish, and maybe a tiny bit towards the bottom. But ultimately, it's up to you to decide what you want to do. And then there's one more thing we can do is we can add in another shadow. So we can go to our layers where we've got this layer here, where we've got the background and the mask of the actual coffee bean. We can swipe it to the left and duplicate it. That's really important. You grab the bottom one out of the two, pinch the mask to the background. You can go ahead and go to your colors, double tap at the bottom of the disk to select black, go back to your layer, tap on it and fill it. Then go ahead and tap on it, bring its opacity, say down to around about, say, let's go down to about 50%. Then you can grab your cursor, you can use uniform, scale it down in size and just move it down to the bottom right area down here. You could really scale it down if you want to and create something a little bit more like this. It makes the coffee bean look like it's floating in the air. And if you want to, you can go to your layer. You can turn off the alpha lock. You can go to your adjustments and Gaussian blur and swipe from left to right and then add in a little bit of a shadow there, blurring it out almost as if the coffee bean is falling. And then tap on your adjustments when you're done. Pinch with 2 fingers, go full screen with 4, and you end up with today's finished design. So let me know in the comments what you thought of today's design. Just something really fun and easy, and hopefully it wasn't too much of a challenge. As always, make sure to tag me in your finished creations wherever you decide to share them. And make sure to subscribe, of course, for weekly Procreate tutorials here on my YouTube channel. But I also actually post 3 more exclusives every single month to my Patreon supporters. And the catalogue of exclusive content now is well over 100. I think it's at 116 at the time of recording. 116 exclusive tutorials that you can get your hands on. And you can get access to every single one of them when you come and join me over on Patreon. So I hope you enjoyed today's video, and if you like this one here on YouTube, you'll probably love this one on the screen now as well. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one.